The fluorescent lights above my hospital bed buzzed like angry wasps, and my head felt like someone had used it for batting practice, which, considering the twisted wreck of metal that used to be my Ford pickup, wasn't far from the truth. I fumbled for my phone with fingers that felt like sausages wrapped in gauze. 3 missed calls from work, 7 from my mom, and exactly 0 from my wife, Vanessa. That should have been my first clue that my world was about to implode faster than a house of cards in a tornado. "Hey, babe," I croaked into the phone when she finally picked up. "I'm at Memorial Hospital. The truck hit black ice on Route 9 and, look, you're obviously fine enough to call me." Vanessa's voice cut through my explanation like a rusty blade. "Just sleep it off or call your mother. I'm busy." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, wondering if the concussion was making me hallucinate. My wife of 15 years had just blown me off, like I was some drunk dialing her from a bar instead of her husband calling from a hospital bed. That's when I made the mistake of checking Instagram. There she was, my loving wife, posted 20 minutes ago. Vanessa laughing hysterically at some party, a martini in one hand and her other arm wrapped around Dylan Reeves, my former best friend. My former business partner, the guy who'd been my best man at our wedding. The caption read, "Living my best life with the best people. And no regrets. Got new beginnings." My phone started buzzing with texts from coworkers who'd seen the post. "Dude, are you seeing this? What the hell is Vanessa doing? Man, I'm sorry. This is messed up." I set the phone down and stared at the ceiling tiles, counting the water stains. Nothing says marital bliss like your wife partying while you're getting stitched up by a resident who looks like he's barely old enough to shave. The nurse, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and the patience of a saint, came in to check my vitals. "Your wife coming to pick you up, honey?" I laughed, and it hurt my ribs. "Yeah, she's really busy right now. Apparently I rank somewhere between a root canal and jury duty on her priority list." The nurse frowned. "Well, you can't drive with that concussion. Need me to call someone else?" "My buddy Ray will come get me." Ray Martinez owned a combination pub and boxing gym downtown. He'd been telling me for months that something was off about Vanessa's behavior. Guess he was right. 20 minutes later, Ray walked into my room looking like he wanted to punch something. "Jesus, Nate. You look like you went 10 rounds with a meat grinder. Feel like it too." I showed him Vanessa's Instagram post. Ray's jaw tightened. That cold-hearted witch. And Dylan. He shook his head. "I never liked that slick-talking pretty boy. Always thought he was sniffing around where he didn't belong." As Ray helped me into his car, my phone buzzed again. This time it was my 17-year-old daughter, Lila, texting from her mom's phone. "Dad's being dramatic as usual. Mom says you're fine and to stop bothering her." That hit harder than the airbag had. The drive home was a blur of Ray's colorful commentary about my wife's character and Dylan's parentage. But when we pulled into my driveway, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Moving boxes. Stacked on my front porch like cardboard tombstones. "What the hell?" I stumbled out of the car, Ray close behind me. The front door opened before I could reach for my keys. Vanessa stepped out, looking like she'd stepped off the pages of a fitness magazine. Behind her came Dylan, all 6 feet of him, wearing that smug smile I'd grown to hate over the past year. "Oh good, you're alive," Vanessa said, her tone suggesting she was mildly disappointed by this fact. "Your stuff's all packed." Dylan helped. I looked at the boxes, then at my wife, then at my former best friend. "What exactly is going on here?" Vanessa pulled a manila envelope from her designer purse. "Divorce papers. I had them drawn up last week. You just need to sign them. The world tilted sideways, and it wasn't from the concussion." "Last week?" "Before my accident?" "The accident was just coincidence, Nate." Dylan stepped forward, his hand possessively on Vanessa's lower back. "We've been together for over a year now. Everyone in town knows except you." "Everyone?" My voice cracked like a teenager's. "Lila's known for months," Vanessa added, twisting the knife. "She's fine with it." She likes Dylan better than you anyway. Ray stepped up beside me. You heartless? Don't. I put a hand on his arm. Just don't. I looked at the woman I'd loved since college. The woman I'd worked 70-hour weeks to support while she built her fitness empire. The woman who'd promised to love me in sickness and in health. A year, Vanessa? A whole year? She shrugged. What can I say? Dylan makes me feel alive again. You just make me feel tired. That's when something inside me snapped. Not broke, snapped, like a rubber band stretched too far. I walked over to Dylan's pristine Mustang, the one he'd been restoring for 3 years, the one he loved more than most people loved their children. I pulled out my house keys and dragged them along the passenger side, leaving a beautiful silver scar in the cherry red paint. Oops, I said, not looking back as Dylan's howl of rage echoed behind me. Hope you're insured. I'm just getting started. The next morning, I woke up in Ray's spare room above the gym, feeling like I'd been run over by a freight train carrying a load of regret. My phone was buzzing like an angry hornet. 53 notifications on Facebook, 47 on Instagram, 12 missed calls. Vanessa had posted the security footage from Dylan's auto shop, showing me keying his car in glorious high definition. The caption read, "This is what 15 years of marriage gets you, a vandal for a husband. Thank God I'm finally free." Toxic masculinity, powerful moving on, press charges. The comments were brutal. OMG Vanessa, I'm so sorry you had to deal with this. What a psycho, you're better off without him. Dylan's car is gorgeous. Hope he sues. But there were a few supporters. Maybe if you hadn't been cheating for a year, he wouldn't have snapped. Team Nate. Vanessa's always been a gold digger. I scrolled through the comments until I found one that made my stomach drop. My mom saw them together at the Riverside Motel last Christmas, while Nate was working overtime to pay for Lila's private school. Vanessa's trash. Last Christmas. I'd been installing a new HVAC system for the county courthouse, working 16-hour days to afford Lila's tuition. Vanessa had said she was doing a fitness retreat in the city. Ray knocked on the door. You alive in there? Define alive. He came in carrying coffee and what looked like a gas station breakfast sandwich. Eat this. You need fuel for what's coming. What's coming? Your daughter's downstairs, and she looks pissed. Lila was waiting in the gym, all 5 feet 6 inches of teenage attitude wrapped in designer clothes I'd paid for. Her dark hair was pulled back in a perfect ponytail, and her makeup was Instagram ready. She looked like a younger version of her mother, which hurt more than I cared to admit. Dad, what the hell is wrong with you? She didn't even look up from her phone. Do you know how embarrassing this is? All my friends are talking about it. Your friends are talking about me keying a car, but not about your mother cheating for a year? Mom wasn't cheating. She was unhappy. There's a difference. Lila finally looked at me, and I saw Vanessa's cold calculation in her 17-year-old eyes. Dylan makes her happy. You just made her miserable. I worked my ass off to give you and your mother everything you wanted. We didn't want your money, Dad. We wanted you to not be so boring. That word hit like a physical blow. Boring. 15 years of marriage, 17 years of fatherhood, and I was boring. Your mother asked me to give you this. Lila handed me a legal document. It's about the house and custody stuff. She says if you contest it, she'll press charges for the car. I skimmed the papers. Vanessa wanted the house, half my business, and full custody of Lila. In return, I'd get visitation every other weekend and the privilege of paying alimony until she remarried. This is insane, Lila. I'm your father. Biology isn't everything, Dad. She stood up, slinging her designer purse over her shoulder. Dylan's already more of a father to me than you ever were. At least he shows up to my games. I missed 3 games because I was working. To pay for your... Whatever, Dad. Just sign the papers. Make this easy for once in your life." She walked out, leaving me standing in an empty boxing gym, holding divorce papers and wondering when my daughter had learned to hate me. Ray emerged from behind the bar, shaking his head. "That kid's been poisoned against you." "She's right, though. I was never there. Always working, always trying to provide, never just present." "Bullshit." Ray slammed a glass down on the bar. "You think Dylan was at her games because he cared?" "He was there because he was screwing her mother. It was convenient." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Check your email. You need to see this. A friend." The email contained a dozen photos. Vanessa and Dylan at the Riverside Motel. Vanessa and Dylan at a restaurant in the next town over. Vanessa and Dylan at what looked like a company Christmas party. But the last photo made my blood freeze. Vanessa, Dylan, and a third man I didn't recognize. They were at some upscale restaurant, and the unknown man had his hand on Vanessa's thigh while Dylan's arm was around her shoulders. The timestamp was from 2 weeks ago. I showed Ray the photos. He whistled low. "Looks like your wife's been busier than a one-legged cat in a sandbox. Who's the third guy? Let me make some calls. I know people who know people." While Ray worked his network, I sat in the gym and watched my life implode in real time on social media. Vanessa had posted a video tour of her house, explaining how she was redecorating now that she was free from negative energy. The comments were a mix of support and skepticism. "You go, girl!" "New life, new you." "Didn't you just throw your husband out yesterday?" "Moving kind of fast." "What about your daughter?" "This has to be hard on her." Vanessa had responded to that last one. "Lila's thriving. She loves Dylan and is so excited about our new family dynamic. Our new family dynamic, like I was a piece of furniture they donated to Goodwill." Ray came back with information. "The third guy is Marcus Webb. He's some hotshot investor looking to franchise Vanessa's fitness studio. Word is he's been mentoring her business development." "Mentoring? That's what they're calling it. But my source says Webb's got a reputation. Married guy who likes to play with desperate housewives who need business loans." I stared at the photos again. "So she's not just cheating on me. She's cheating on Dylan, too." "Looks like it. Question is, what are you going to do about it?" I thought about that for a long moment. What was I going to do? Roll over and let them steamroll me? Sign the papers and slink away like a whipped dog? "I'm going to stop playing nice," I said finally. Ray grinned. "Now you're talking." "What's the plan?" "First, I need to know exactly what I'm dealing with. Then." I looked at the photos again, at my wife's face as she smiled at 2 different men who weren't her husband. "Then I'm going to remind everyone in this town why you don't mess with a man who's got nothing left to lose." The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in 15 years of marriage. I went to Vanessa's fitness studio during peak hours. FitLife Studio was Vanessa's pride and joy, all glass and chrome and motivational posters about living your best life. She'd built it with money from my HVAC business, back when we were still a team instead of opposing forces in a war I didn't know. We were fighting. The place was packed with the usual crowd of desperate housewives and middle-aged men trying to recapture their youth. Vanessa was in the center of it all, leading a spinning class like some kind of fitness goddess. She saw me through the glass wall and nearly fell off her bike. I waved. After class, she stormed over, her face flushed from exercise and fury. "What are you doing here, Nate?" "Checking out my investment. Technically, I own half of this place." "Not for long. Sign the papers, and this all goes away." "About those papers." I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos Ray's contact had sent. "Interesting business meetings you've been having." The color drained from her face. "Where did you get those?" "Does it matter?" "What matters is that Dylan doesn't know about Marcus Webb, and Webb probably doesn't know about Dylan. That's got to be exhausting, juggling 2 affairs at once." "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly. You're hedging your bets." Dylan's good for the emotional affair, but Webb's got the money for your franchise dreams. Vanessa looked around nervously. The studio was full of people pretending to stretch while obviously eavesdropping on our conversation. "We can't talk here," she hissed. "Why not?" "You've been pretty public about everything else." That's when Dylan walked in, wearing his mechanic's coveralls and a scowl that could curdle milk. "Vanessa, what's he doing here?" "Just having a chat with my wife about our future business arrangements," I said pleasantly. Dylan stepped closer, trying to use his height advantage to intimidate me. "You need to leave. Now." "Actually, I need to ask you something, Dylan. How long have you known about Marcus Webb?" The confusion on Dylan's face was priceless. "Who's Marcus Webb?" I showed him the photos. "This Marcus Webb, the one who's been mentoring Vanessa in business development." Dylan's face went through several interesting color changes as he processed what he was seeing. "Vanessa? What the hell is this?" "Dylan, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you're cheating on your husband with me and cheating on me with this guy?" The entire studio had gone silent. 30 pairs of eyes were watching the drama unfold like it was their favorite soap opera. "It's not what it looks like," Vanessa said, but her voice lacked conviction. "It looks like my wife is a lying, cheating—" I caught myself before I said something I'd regret. "Well, let's just say it looks like I've been underestimating you, Vanessa." Dylan was staring at the photos like they were written in a foreign language. "When were these taken?" 2 weeks ago," I said helpfully. "Right around the time you were posting about new beginnings and true love." "You son of a—" Dylan lunged at me, but I'd been expecting it. I sidestepped, and Dylan crashed into a rack of yoga mats. The entire studio erupted in chaos as people pulled out phones to record the action. "Dylan, stop!" Vanessa grabbed his arm. "Not here." "Not here?" Dylan shook her off. "Where then, Vanessa? At the motel with your investor boyfriend?" I had to admire the poetic justice of it all. For months, I'd been the clueless husband while everyone else knew about the affair. Now Dylan was getting a taste of that same humiliation. "Gentlemen, I think we need to take this outside." The voice belonged to Officer Mike Santos, a guy I'd gone to high school with. He was standing in the doorway with his hand resting casually on his radio. "No problem, Mike," I said. "I was just leaving anyway." As I walked toward the door, I turned back to address the crowd. "Sorry for the disruption, everyone. Just a little family drama. I'm sure you understand." The murmur that followed me out was music to my ears. Ray was waiting in the parking lot, grinning like he'd won the lottery. "How'd it go?" "Better than expected. Dylan and Vanessa are having a very public disagreement about her business practices. And half the town just watched it happen. By tonight, everyone will know that Vanessa's been playing both sides." My phone buzzed with a text from Lila. "Dad, what did you do?" "Mom is freaking out and Dylan's threatening to leave." I showed the message to Ray. "Think she's starting to see cracks in paradise?" "Maybe. But you're not done yet, are you?" I looked back at the studio, where I could see Vanessa and Dylan still arguing through the glass walls. Not even close. They wanted to play games? Let's see how they like the championship round. That evening, I got a call from Maya Chen, Vanessa's best friend and business partner. Maya had always been polite to me, but I'd sensed she didn't particularly like me. She thought Vanessa had married beneath her station. "Nate, we need to talk." "About what, Maya?" "About stopping this before it gets worse. Vanessa made some mistakes, but destroying her business won't bring your marriage back." Interesting perspective. "Tell me, Maya, how long have you known about Dylan and Marcus Webb?" The silence on the other end was telling. "I thought so," I continued. "You knew everything, didn't you? Helped cover for her? Maybe even arrange some of those business meetings with Webb?" "Nate, you don't understand the pressure Vanessa's been under. The pressure of juggling 2 affairs while planning to divorce her husband? Yeah, that does sound stressful. Meet me tomorrow. Ray's place, noon. We need to end this." Maya, this is just getting started. After I hung up, Ray looked at me with something like admiration. You know you're playing with fire, right? These people aren't going to just roll over. Good. I'm tired of being the only one getting burned. Maya walked into Ray's gym like she was entering enemy territory, which I suppose she was. She'd traded her usual yoga pants and designer top for a business suit, like she was preparing for a negotiation instead of a conversation. Nate, you look terrible. Thanks, Maya. You look like you're about to foreclose on someone's house. She sat down across from me, her expression serious. We need to discuss terms. Terms? For ending this. You've made your point. Vanessa knows she hurt you. Dylan's furious and threatening to leave her. The whole town is talking. Isn't that enough? I leaned back in my chair. Maya, let me ask you something. How long have you been planning this? Planning what? This whole thing. The affair, the divorce, the business takeover. How long? Maya's poker face slipped for just a second, but it was enough. I don't know what you mean. Sure you do. See, I've been doing some digging. Turns out Marcus Webb isn't just interested in franchising fitness studios. He specializes in acquiring small businesses from divorced women who need quick cash. Ray whistled low from behind the bar. That's cold. And you, Maya, you've been feeding him information about local businesses for months. Small partnerships, family-owned companies, places where a messy divorce might create opportunities. Maya's face had gone pale. That's ridiculous. Is it? Because I also found out that you approached Dylan about me almost 2 years ago. Planted the idea that Vanessa was unhappy, that she deserved better. You're paranoid. Maybe. But I'm also right. I pulled out a folder I'd prepared. Webb's company has acquired 6 businesses in this area over the past 3 years, all from recently divorced women who needed fast cash. And in every case, the women had a friend who helped arrange the introduction. Maya stood up abruptly. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. But you might want to listen to this. I hit play on my phone. Maya's voice came through the speaker, clear as day. Webb's interested in the fitness studio, but we need to get rid of the husband first. The affair with Dylan should be enough to push him into a quick divorce settlement. It was a recording from a conversation she'd had with someone 2 months ago. Ray's contact had been very thorough. Maya sank back into her chair. How did you get that recording? Let's just say you're not as careful as you think you are. What do you want? The truth. All of it. Maya looked around the empty gym like she was searching for an escape route. Finally, she sighed. It started as business. Webb pays me a finder's fee for potential acquisitions. Vanessa's studio was perfect, successful enough to be worth buying, but small enough that a divorce would force a quick sale. So you decided to blow up my marriage for a commission? It wasn't supposed to be personal? Vanessa was already unhappy. Bullshit. Ray's voice cut across the room. You manufactured the unhappiness. Maya ignored him. Dylan was easy to manipulate. He's always been jealous of what you built with Vanessa. I just encouraged him. And Vanessa? She was lonely. You were always working, never around. Dylan paid attention to her. While you were setting up meetings with Webb. The business meetings were legitimate. Webb really is interested in franchising. For a fraction of what the business is worth, after a desperate divorce forces a fire sale. Maya nodded reluctantly. Something like that. I felt a cold rage building in my chest. This woman had systematically destroyed my family for money. And my daughter? How does Lila fit into your business plan? Lila was never part of it, but kids adapt. She'll be fine. That's when I snapped. I stood up so fast my chair fell over backward. She'll be fine? You destroyed her family, turned her against her father, and she'll be fine? Maya shrank back. Nate, calm down. No, I don't think I will calm down. You want to know what's going to happen now, Maya? She shook her head. You're going to call Vanessa and Dylan. You're going to arrange a meeting. Tonight, at the old RV park on Miller Road. You're going to tell them you have a solution to the Marcus Webb problem. I won't do it. I showed her the phone with the recording. You will. Because if you don't, this recording goes to Webb, to the police, and to every business owner in town. How long do you think your little consulting business will last when everyone knows you're a predator? Maya stared at me for a long moment. You've changed, Nate. You used to be such a nice guy. Yeah, well, nice guys finish last, and divorced, and broke. I leaned forward. Make the call, Maya. It's time for everyone to face the music. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Vanessa? It's Maya. We have a problem with the Webb situation. Meet me at the old RV park tonight at 8. Bring Dylan. We need to figure this out before it gets worse. After she hung up, Maya looked at me with something like fear. What are you planning? Justice, I said. Something that's been in short supply around here lately. Ray came over and put a hand on my shoulder. You sure about this, Nate? I thought about Vanessa's cold voice when I called from the hospital. About Lila calling me boring and expendable. About Dylan's smug smile as he helped pack my life into cardboard boxes. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The old RV park had been abandoned for 5 years, ever since the highway bypass killed most of the tourist traffic through town. Now it was just a collection of empty hookup sites, and one derelict RV that someone had abandoned when they couldn't afford the towing fee. Perfect for what I had planned. Ray and I arrived early, parking behind a stand of pine trees where we could see the main entrance. I'd spent the afternoon preparing for this moment, and I was ready. You sure about this plan? Ray asked for the 10th time. Trust me. Famous last words. At 8 o'clock sharp, Maya's BMW pulled into the park, followed by Dylan's Mustang. Even in the fading light, I could see the scratch I'd left in his paint job. They gathered near the abandoned RV, 3 figures in the growing darkness. I could hear their voices, but not their words. Showtime, I said. Ray and I approached from different directions, flashlights in hand. When we were close enough, I hit the record button on my phone and stepped into their circle. Evening, everyone. Thanks for coming to my little intervention. Vanessa spun around, her eyes wide. Nate? What are you doing here? Having a conversation with my wife, her boyfriend, and the woman who's been orchestrating this whole thing for profit. Dylan stepped forward aggressively. You need to leave. Now. Actually, Dylan, you need to shut up and listen. Because you're about to learn some things about your girlfriend that might change your perspective on this whole situation. I turned to Maya. Tell them about Marcus Webb. Maya's face was ghostly pale in the flashlight beam. Nate, don't do this. Tell them, or I will. What about Marcus Webb? Vanessa's voice had a dangerous edge. Maya looked around the circle like a trapped animal. He's not just interested in franchising your business. What do you mean? He acquires businesses from divorced women who need quick cash, usually for much less than they're worth. The silence that followed was deafening. Dylan was the first to speak. Are you saying this whole thing was a setup? Not the whole thing, Maya said quickly. Your feelings for Vanessa are real. Her feelings for you are real. I just facilitated the situation. Facilitated? Vanessa's voice was climbing toward hysteria. You destroyed my marriage for a business deal? Your marriage was already in trouble. Because you told me it was, Dylan exploded. You're the one who kept saying Vanessa deserved better, that Nate was holding her back. I was enjoying watching my enemies turn on each other, but I wasn't done yet. There's more, I said. Maya, tell them about the timeline. What timeline? Vanessa demanded. Tell them when you first contacted Webb about acquiring the studio. Maya's shoulders sagged. 2 years ago. 2 years? Dylan stared at her in disbelief. You've been planning this for 2 years? And tell them about the other businesses Webb has acquired through your consulting. Maya rattled off 6 names, all local businesses that had been sold after messy divorces. Vanessa was staring at her best friend like she was seeing her for the first time. You used me. I helped you. You were miserable with Nate. I was content with Nate. You convinced me I was miserable. And you convinced me she was unhappy, Dylan added, his voice heavy with realization. Jesus, Maya, what kind of person are you? That's when I played my ace. The kind of person who records her phone conversations for insurance purposes. I held up my phone. Would you like to hear Maya discussing how to get rid of the husband and push Vanessa into a quick divorce settlement? I played the recording. Maya's voice filled the night air, cold and calculating as she discussed destroying my family like it was a business transaction. When it finished, the silence was absolute. Vanessa turned to Maya with murder in her eyes. You destroyed my family. You turned my daughter against her father. You made me hate my husband, all for money. Vanessa, Get away from me. Vanessa's voice was deadly quiet. Get away from all of us. Maya looked around the circle, but found no sympathy anywhere. She walked back to her car without another word. After she drove away, the 3 of us stood in the darkness, processing what had just happened. So what now? Dylan asked finally. I looked at my wife, really looked at her. In the harsh light of the flashlights, she looked older than her 43 years. Tired, defeated. Now you decide what kind of person you want to be, Vanessa. The kind who takes responsibility for her choices, or the kind who blames everyone else for her problems. I made mistakes, she said quietly. But so did you. You were never there, Nate. Always working, always somewhere else. I was building a life for our family. Everything I did was for you and Lila. We didn't need more money. We needed you. And you needed Dylan too, apparently. Vanessa looked at Dylan, who was standing apart from us, staring at the ground. Dylan, I'm sorry. Maya manipulated both of us, but that doesn't excuse what I did to my marriage. What we did. Dylan nodded slowly. Yeah, well, I'm sorry too. I should have minded my own business. I felt a strange sense of closure settling over me. The anger was still there, but it was cooling, hardening into something more like resolve. Here's what's going to happen, I said. Vanessa, you're going to call Webb tomorrow and tell him you're not interested in selling. Then you're going to buy out my half of the business at fair market value. Nate, I don't have that kind of money. Figure it out. Get a loan, find an investor, sell your car. I don't care. But you're not getting my half of the business for divorce settlement pennies. And if I refuse, I held up my phone. Then everyone in town hears Maya's recording, along with my own commentary about how you and Dylan helped her destroy families for profit. How long do you think your business will survive that kind of publicity? Vanessa nodded reluctantly. What about Lila? What about her? Custody, visitation. I thought about my daughter, about her cold dismissal of me as boring and expendable. Lila's 17. She can choose who she wants to spend time with. But I'm not signing away my parental rights, and I'm not paying alimony to support your affair. That's fair, Vanessa said quietly. I turned to Dylan. And you're going to pay for the damage to your car yourself. Consider it a stupidity tax. Dylan actually smiled at that. Yeah, okay. I had that coming. As we walked back to our cars, Vanessa caught my arm. Nate, for what it's worth, I am sorry. You deserved better than this. I looked at the woman I'd loved for 15 years, the mother of my child, the person who'd shared my bed and my dreams and my fears. Yeah, I did. But you know what, Vanessa? So did you. Maya played us all. Does that mean... Is there any chance we could try again? I thought about that for a long moment. about trust broken and words that couldn't be taken back. About my daughter choosing Dylan over me and my wife's voice when I called from the hospital. "No," I said finally. "Some things can't be fixed. But maybe we can end this without destroying each other completely." Vanessa nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'll call my lawyer tomorrow. We'll work out something fair." As I drove away from the RV park, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not happiness, not satisfaction, but peace. The war was over, and while nobody had really won, at least the shooting had stopped. My phone buzzed with a text from Lila. "Dad? Mom told me what really happened. Can we talk?" I smiled and typed back, "Anytime, kiddo. Anytime." 6 months later, I was sitting in Ray's gym, reading a newspaper article about Maya Chen's arrest for fraud and conspiracy. Turns out, recording your criminal conversations is only smart if you're the only one with access to the recordings. Vanessa had bought out my share of the business and was struggling but surviving. Dylan had moved to the next town over and started fresh. Lila was spending weekends with me again, slowly rebuilding our relationship. And me? I was learning to be content with boring. Boring meant honest. Boring meant reliable. Boring meant sleeping well at night. Ray slid a beer across the bar to me. "Any regrets?" I thought about that. "Just one." "What's that?" "I should have done it sooner."